Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grounded Conversations with Sharon. And I'm so excited to introduce today's guest to you. This is a conversation I've been really looking forward to having. So, we have with us Wendy. She is a somatic practitioner and nervous system coach who works with high functioning women who have lost themselves in action, in the doing, in the achieving, in holding everything together. And through the somatic and nervous system work, she reconnects her clients with themselves and the intelligence of their body. And she helps in creating felt change, not just understood change. This allows them to really embody the things that they actually want. Wendy helps her clients remember who they are underneath years of conditioning and helps them to reconnect with their power and their gifts. These power and these gifts were always there, and she helps them reconnect with that and become their own source of support and guidance. So, welcome, Wendy.
Thank you, Sharon. And that was a lovely, wonderful introduction. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so excited because I feel that this is something that is so important um, in this day and age, especially where women are realizing how much of their power they have given away. And I think this is such important work that you're doing in helping women realize their own power and um, believe in their own instincts and um, taking action and getting whatever they want and whatever they believe their purpose is.
Mm. Amen. Yes, absolutely.
So, so what led you to become a somatic practitioner? Was there a particular moment or experience that made you realize that this is the work that you want to do?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, there's a little story. I'll summarize it as much as I can here, but
Yeah.
it's for me really it's following a period that was pretty challenging period of my life.
Yeah.
The arrival of my second son, and we had a lot of medical complications,
Yeah.
which began with a health scare in pregnancy, leading us into special care, and then really sort of after a few weeks there, sort of in and out of hospital till we sort of finally discovered that he had quite a complex medical condition. So we were aware that it's going to take some time to get our heads around this and understand how to manage it.
Yeah.
The bit I didn't tell you about, Sharon, is that we were also in the middle of renovating the house.
Oh,
I forgot that bit when we spoke before.
yeah.
So not only, we'd hoped for this to be finished before before we went into, welcoming our second
So,
son.
yeah.
Um, but we were middle of changing the kitchen, changing the lounge, extending the house, and it wasn't complete. So not only were we in and out of hospital, we were also, trying to sort of function on this house that was
Yeah.
mid construction.
Yeah.
So, and funnily enough, actually, what became sort of the most, as if that wasn't challenging anyway, what became even more challenging was the sleep deprivation that we were experiencing.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of parents, obviously, we're used to this. We expect this when we have a newborn, but it was sort of a prolonged sort of went on for years, sort of a very, very sort of severe sleep deprivation.
Yeah.
I think, we're designed to manage stress, handle stress, but when it's sort of prolonged and there's no sort of rest and recovery and periods to sort of regroup, I think that's when we really run into problems. And that's sort of where things started to sort of really come apart for me. So, had the stressful things to deal with, but really had no kind of respite to sort of focus in there.
And
And
did you say it was during COVID as well when we spoke earlier?
it was
Um,
about
yeah.
a year sort of into this, in that hospital and that, and finishing, yeah, we hit COVID as well. So
Yeah.
we're dealing with this sort of lack of sleep. And then even if I did want perhaps somebody to take care of a little one
Yeah.
so I could rest, that wasn't an option either, you
Yeah.
know. Um, so yeah, it was almost as if like everything
Yeah.
was sort of accumulating at once. And I had a previous background. I sort of trained as a coach. I'd done a lot of sort of work and trained in lots of modalities. And prior to this, I was feeling really good. I was in a really strong place, and I think I'd even sort of said, "Oh, I feel like I could handle anything now." I'd always had a lot of generalized anxieties, and
Yeah.
that had sort of dissipated. I'd stopped smoking. I'd flown after having a fear of flying for 10 years. So I was in a strong place before
Yeah.
this. Um, and I sort of joke now that when I declared that I could handle anything, that the universe responded. I
Yeah.
don't know, it
Yeah.
took me a while to figure out what this was about, but yeah.
Yeah.
So I had this lots of tools and things that I could use, but what became evident was that the state that I was getting in and my body was getting in because of this lack of sleep and just no time to sort of really sit back and reflect on everything that was happening. So it started to really manifest in this sort of you almost sort of switched on, like can't relax, hypervigilance that was
Yeah.
occurring. And nothing that I'd sort of learnt before was almost could really penetrate that. It was like there's this
Yeah.
sort of block was coming up, like the state that I was in, I couldn't sort of even receive help.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I even went to perhaps to get some help in the middle of that time. And I remember her, the lady sort of, offering me things, and I could hear what she was saying, but it was almost like, one, I just couldn't let it in.
Yeah.
And then two, there was so much sort of going on internally. I just couldn't even sort of begin to explain, what was happening at that time as well. So, it was a real sort of felt sense of we were in the lockdown and my body was sort of going into this sort of shutdown as well at the same time. Yeah.
You were not able to receive the help. Your body was not allowing you to receive the help. There was so much going on.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, in one way, the wall was up, but again, I think a lot of parents here have experienced the
Yeah.
sleep deprivation, and sometimes that's prolonged. Sometimes they have two children in a row. And I
Yeah.
always feel like the walls are down. When we're tired.
Yeah.
We don't have the same buffers, and we don't can't access our resources the same way.
Yeah.
And I think what was also happening was, with these walls being down, it was almost as though then it was giving rise to other things to surface.
Yeah.
And things that were familiar from perhaps sort of teenage years, or things that I thought had been resolved,
Yeah.
and they were sort of showing up as well. So I sort of
Mm.
becoming aware that this isn't just about the difficult circumstances. This is also something else that's coming up. I
Yeah.
remember Wayne Dyer saying that, if we squeeze an orange, we don't get apple juice or tomato, we're going to get orange juice. So, when we're squeezed and put under pressure,
Yeah.
what comes up is what's within. So there
Yeah.
I was in this, in this almost felt like quite a brutal unraveling that was happening. And the point really that led me to, into the body work
Yeah.
was one night that I was watching my son on the monitor, and I just come up to the top of the stairs, and I mean he's about 3.5 by this point, so we'd endured quite a few years of lack of sleep and
Sleeplessness. Yeah.
in and out of the hospital, and he was starting to get some better stretches of sleep.
Yeah.
We were starting to get our heads around the medical conditions and managing that. Um, even though, this things were improving, I was still kind of in this state where, I couldn't relax.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I reached the top of the stairs and put the monitor down, and he just made this little shuffle on the monitor. And people do, they're just adjusting their sleep and carry on sleeping. And the second that this happened, I felt like I've been shot. My body just sort of froze. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
And I was there looking at the monitor, and I told myself, no, he's still asleep. It's okay. You can carry on. You can go and have a cup of tea before relax for half an hour. But my body was still sort of frozen. And I just thought, like, in that moment, I thought, it doesn't matter what I tell myself now that things are getting better and he's okay, he's still asleep. Like, I needed a way to let my body know
Yeah.
that it was okay.
Yeah.
And that was really the turning point. It wouldn't matter what, it's almost like that was on replay of everything that had happened. And then it was in the future for, oh, he could be waking up in a minute. So no, I can't relax. So I couldn't even be present to the moments when things were okay.
Mm.
That was the real thing, is that, okay, well, how do I tell my body it's okay at this moment? Let's rest now.
Yeah.
And that was when the radar came to looking. I mean, this was before nervous system, and we hear nervous system work everywhere now.
Mm.
Well, I
Yeah.
certainly do.
Yeah.
I'd never
Yeah.
heard of somatic work. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know people listening here, how many people have heard of somatic work. But
Yeah.
that was really not on my radar at that time. And that's where you gradually I started to discover these things, and then this started this long journey that's probably been about 4 years now of training and studying and really learning the language of the body. I think I would describe it like how I can talk directly to my body to let the body know we're
Mm.
okay, and bring it into the present. So
Yeah.
that was like the real moment.
Yeah. And I think it's very much a very in thing at the moment. Everybody is talking about nervous system work and body work, and so I've heard of. I used to hear about it a few years ago, but I never understood what it really was. But now, after doing, I think we had one session, and we just did. I mean, when we were having our um, group call together, we had you did a small work with us, a 10-minute work, but that made such a huge difference. It made me realize how I can bring myself to the present, and also made me realize how much I'm not present, how much
Yes.
I'm how much I'm so distracted and have so much going on in the back of my mind. And so many things that you described with your son, that you felt by him shuffling on the monitor and um, reacting. And so many bits and parts of that I resonate with a lot. But I don't think it might, maybe to the degree that you felt it, but I also did feel that way. So I really understand how important body work was for you and why you went into it, and how that helped you. And yeah, and a lot of people, including myself, we've tried affirmations, mindset work, and
Mhm.
sometimes they don't really help in bringing about lasting change.
Mm.
And I've heard you talk about breath work, nervous system regulation, and how all of that helps the body feel safe, safe enough to receive whatever it is that we really want. So, can you explain why we really need to do all of this to receive what we want to manifest? As that is the current trend, everyone is manifesting.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So,
That's it.
and I'm
Absolutely.
also into learning more about manifestation and wanting to do grounded manifestation. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it is, and I'm really glad this is sort of almost like a two-part. There's two things here for me. Yes, yeah, we want to move towards the things that we want, absolutely, and I just have a way of looking at body work and everything whereby I want to do the work with myself, not to myself. And I think
Yeah.
sometimes when we're so focused on this is what I want, that's what I want, and not being with perhaps, the things that are saying, actually, I don't know, this doesn't feel right. I'm not sure about this. And you that it's almost as if one on one level we could be sort of overriding those parts, like we're just trying to sort of quieten those parts and just totally focus on where I want to go and what I
Yeah.
want. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. But I think it's both. It's both. It's yes, I want to, I can use body work, as you say, can use various modalities like breath work and people use EFT, tapping, things that could perhaps sort of, what I like to say, signal safety to the body. So when we're moving towards something new, a bit like a new job or anything, if it's unfamiliar, like anything unfamiliar, the nervous system will read as, potential threat.
Yeah.
So even if
Yeah.
it's something good, if like, oh, I want to move towards this, this is what I really want, I'm looking forward to it, it's still going to be like, oh, I don't know, I'm not
Yeah.
sure, you know. So when we can sort of use this work to sort of signal and let the body know and just sort of move towards things in sort of tolerable steps and keep signaling that safety,
Mm.
then it's okay to sort of, as I say, soften and get evidence that each step that I take and it's okay, and build that evidence.
Yeah.
But if there's that other part that does come up and we don't address that, so this is going back to the with myself,
Mm.
then it could be like what happened for me in my story, that I felt I was doing well, that I
Yeah.
was in this great place, which I was absolutely, but I hit a big sort of bump in the road, and it's almost like those things sort of resurfaced again.
Mm.
And now there's this opportunity. So these things that are saying no, or you don't want to let in this affirmation, so we might say something, but there's a part of us that says, I don't believe this, I don't know, and it's gonna, you know, tighten up. If we don't sort of listen to that part and actually appreciate that that is like a protective response, when our
Mm.
body sort of freezes up or tenses up or just doesn't resonate with something. That's our body saying, I don't trust this. I don't think this is okay.
Yeah.
Somebody might reject me if I do this. I might not be accepted. So when we are able to sort of listen to this part and realize the positive intention,
Mm.
and I like the way Frank Anderson, who I learned a lot of parts work through, you he talks about these parts of us and how who doesn't feel better when they're seen, heard, and validated.
Yes.
You
True.
know, quite often we might go to a friend with a problem and then they come up and say you want to make us feel better or give us a solution,
Yeah.
but all we really want is to feel understood or to somebody to
Right.
get
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
Um, so I like to think of the parts that don't want to let something in or have some resistance, almost like we want to sort of build trust with those parts,
Mm.
earn trust. So we want to keep meeting and seeing and hearing and validating,
Mm.
their experience because it was there for a reason, a protective response. So we can start really using body work as well. Ultimately, to me, I see body work as not, oh, I'm going to fix myself so I feel good all the time. For me, it's about be allow me to be with my full experience,
Yeah.
whatever that is, not just
Yeah.
all the good feelings, the difficult feelings, the challenging feelings. So the more I can make space and sense that even sort of somatically, because a lot of time feelings are in the body, they're sensation. If we look at the real core of a feeling being a sensation, the more I can be with these uncomfortable feelings, the more they're just allowed to sort of process and complete. And we don't sort of then feel, I've got to be afraid of the feeling, or I've got to avoid the feeling, or I've got to
Mm,
fix the feeling. So it's like for me, it's I've got to be able to be with things. And that's really, really like what happened for me in my situation when I was trying to fix everything and improve everything. I feel like I was really being called to just find a way to be with what was happening at the time, as
yes.
opposed to fixing it.
Same.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot there. So that made sense. Those two components there.
Yeah.
So the future-based one, I can signal safety to move towards, but also I want to signal safety to those older parts and let them come with us. We don't
Hmm.
want to leave them behind. We almost want to take their hand and let them come with us
Yeah.
on this journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is so powerful, actually. I think that is from what I have experienced. I have always decided on certain things, probably because that's what society thinks I should do, or that's what my parents want, or that's what my friends think is cool. And I've pressured myself into working towards those things, and I've always kind of suppressed what I feel. I've just pushed it all down so that
Mm,
I can actually achieve those things that I'm looking forward to. But
yeah.
it has always hit back in a very bad way.
Yeah.
And I used to get even more frustrated. I'm like, this is what I want. Why can't I just get it? But now I
Mm,
realize it's because my body wasn't feeling safe. It's because I wasn't listening to my body. I wasn't actually feeling the feelings that were coming up. And yeah, it is so important that we pay attention to that. So, yeah. And I remember you once said that when we stop listening to our bodies stop talking to us. So that just kept playing in my mind. And it's such a, um, like, something I never thought of.
mm,
And it's something that just stood out to me.
yeah.
What exactly did you mean by that? And
Mm,
what's been the biggest shift for you personally since you started tuning back into your body?
mm. Yeah, I do remember saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think again, it's our bodies are it's this two-way communication, isn't it? And our bodies are giving us these, I like to say, like messages with when they're feeling something or they're feeling triggered by something. But there's society, today as well. It just really rewards override and achieving and pushing through. I think that's starting to shift. I think more people are becoming aware of this now.
Yeah.
But it and eventually, what happens sort of when we keep sort of ignoring these cues from our body that are telling us, right, it's time to rest, it's time to, or ask for help, or, not just keep pushing through, eventually the communication gets disrupted. And after a period of time, we don't even hear or receive the messages anymore. It could be a little bit like, say if I go back sort of 15 years when I was studying and I could sit for, say, like 5 hours almost sort of working on assignments. And then
Mm.
at the end, I'd realize like, oh, I'm desperate to go to the bathroom or, I haven't had anything to eat or drink and my neck's all like, and,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't notice because I was so focused until these things are like shouting at me, it's like, ah. And I think, if you take that further and you can think of, even like athletes or people in special forces, they've really been trained to sort of override
Yeah.
their their needs, if you like, their
Yeah.
physiological needs, as well as, emotional, mental,
Yeah.
just in service, So if we think about that, they're really high achieving, but there's like a disconnect, like of almost they're just not getting those messages from the body anymore. And that's what's helping them to perform to the level that they do.
Yeah.
And then what we can often see nowadays is that can catch up later on in terms of some kind of health crisis.
Yeah.
There's a lot of autoimmune disorders coming about now, and yeah, that's quite a big subject there. But for me, body work is also about, not just how I feel, but it's my whole health. It's my physical health as well as mental, emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And
then,
yeah, sorry.
no, no, carry on.
No, I was just wondering what was the biggest shift for you when
Yeah,
you tuned back in?
tuned in. Yeah. And then for me, it would again becoming this almost this attuned caregiver for myself.
Mm,
So it really, it's the relationship with myself that really began to shift. So I could be a support for myself. And that doesn't mean that I'm, like an island. I'm like, oh, I don't need anyone else. I can look after myself, because part of a tune into myself and my needs and hearing the body, I can hear what I need a lot sooner. I can hear if I'm reading an email and I've been there too long, and I can feel, oh, my shoulders are okay, it's time to relax, or it's time to have a break.
yeah.
So I'm more in touch and in tune. I can sense things before they perhaps, what I would say, go out of my capacity, and then I'm, I'm overwhelmed, or it's too much.
Yeah.
So yeah, so having that relationship and attunement to myself is like a massive one. And yeah, and I can then recognize when I do need to ask for help or go and ask for some support. So
Yeah. Yeah. That is so beautiful because I, for me, I just push myself really hard and then eventually my body just goes into spasm. So I get catches, like mostly in my upper back. And recently I had a catch in my tummy and I had no choice but to just
yeah,
rest. My body
yeah,
just is like, you need to take a break. So,
yeah.
yeah, I totally resonate with that. So, even I'm now, even though I've read up so much about it, I've not done so much of somatic work, but I just
Mm,
have an idea about it. Um, but even despite of knowing about it, I still push myself so much.
mm,
So it's so good to hear that, it's just the small things, just telling yourself, "Yeah, I think you're getting tense, just
yeah,
relax and get up, have a drink, take a break, take a walk." And yeah, just these small things, they make such a huge difference. So it's beautiful to hear you say that. And I remember you even said, like, when we stop listening to our body, it's like having an inbox full of messages, which just keeps adding, and then there's no more space, and then the messages
yeah,
stop coming in. So, yeah,
yeah. And
that
suddenly the
is
alarms are going off. There's a
uh,
backlog, the backlog, yeah.
the backlog.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, that is so beautiful. Like, that explanation, it helps us understand how important it is to listen to our bodies and to um, take action and do what our body needs, because that is what is really setting us up to become successful in what we want.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. And as you
Yeah,
say, you don't always even notice things. So the more we can just tune in and just even very simply like just responding like I need to go to the bathroom or I'm thirsty. Like there, if you have been sort of quite disconnected and not sort of responding,
yeah,
those very basic instincts, we can start to really tune in and just build that trust from our body that we are going to listen and respond. And even though sometimes we might be driving the car and I can't suddenly stop and go to the bathroom, but
Mm.
I've noticed, and as soon as the opportunity comes, I'm going to pull over and I'm going to see to that need. So
Yeah,
again, we build that trust with the body, and then we start to hear the body, and it
yeah,
starts speaking to us again. Yeah.
yeah. That's so powerful. Yeah.